The fall, Gina Carano's rise to Hollywood fame, was nothing short of extraordinary. A journey from the raw, unforgiving cage of MMA fighting to the shimmering galaxy of Star Wars. Her portrayal of Cara Dune in The Mandalorian wasn't just a role, it was a declaration of her strength, authenticity, and presence. Fans saw in her a rare combination of physical power and genuine charm, a woman who carried both the scars and the glory of real battles into the fictional wars on screen. But in early 2021, the fairy tale shattered. A single social media post, a meme that drew historical parallels to warn about the dangers of political division, became the spark that lit a digital wildfire. Within hours, outrage swept across social media. Executives at Disney and Lucasfilm, bowing to the storm, labeled her views abhorrent and unacceptable, and severed ties without warning. Her agency followed suit. Overnight, she went from celebrated star to industry pariah. For Carano, it wasn't simply a firing. It was a public execution of her reputation, a sudden exile from the world she had worked so hard to enter. In her heart, she knew this wasn't just about a meme. It was about her refusing to conform, about daring to hold beliefs that clashed with Hollywood's mainstream narrative. Others, men, colleagues, had voiced political opinions without consequence, yet she was singled out, made into an example. The betrayal was as deep as it was swift, and the silence from those who once praised her was deafening. The fight. Most in her position would have disappeared, retreating into obscurity under the crushing weight of public condemnation. But Gina Carano was a fighter long before she was an actress, and the instinct to stand her ground ran in her blood. Instead of accepting defeat, she chose the most dangerous route possible, taking on Disney itself. She filed a lawsuit accusing the company of discrimination, wrongful termination, and political targeting, demanding damages, punitive action, and even reinstatement to her role as Cara Dune. It was the kind of move that seemed impossible to win. A David versus Goliath battle in the age of global media conglomerates. But Carano refused to be intimidated. The courtroom became her new arena, and every filing, every hearing was a round in a fight for not just her career, but for the principle of free expression in a world that had turned increasingly hostile to dissenting voices. At first, the odds were stacked so high they seemed insurmountable. Then came a lifeline from an unexpected ally, Elon Musk. The billionaire, who had been outspoken about protecting those he saw as victims of cancel culture, stepped in to bankroll her legal fight. His support transformed the battle overnight. This wasn't just about resources, it was about validation, about someone with global influence saying her cause mattered. In a heartfelt public statement, Carano thanked him, her words carrying the emotion of someone who had been pulled from the depths just as the waters threatened to close over her head. Musk had asked for nothing in return, making his backing feel less like a transaction and more like an act of solidarity in the purest sense. The turning point. The legal war raged on, with both sides trading blows in court. Disney moved to have the case dismissed, but the judge refused, a small but crucial victory for Carano that hinted the fight might go her way. Then, in a twist that few saw coming, the entire conflict came to an abrupt and stunning end. Both parties filed a joint motion to dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice, locking the case forever in the archives and ensuring it could never be reopened. For the first time in years, the shadow of legal uncertainty lifted from Carano's shoulders. Yet the greater shock was in Disney's own words. In a public statement, they described her as always well-respected and expressed a willingness to find opportunities to work together in the near future. The whiplash was almost dizzying. This was the same company that had once condemned her publicly, now extending what sounded like an olive branch. For Carano, the moment was more than a legal settlement. It was vindication. She had gone toe-to-toe with one of the most powerful corporate machines in the world, and she had walked away not as a victim, but as a respected equal in the eyes of the very people who once sought to erase her. She responded with a mixture of gratitude and resolve, speaking of healing, closure, and the hope that this chapter could serve as a lesson to others. To her fans, she offered words of deep appreciation, calling them the heartbeat that kept her story alive through the darkest moments. The redemption. Now, Gina Carano stands at a threshold. The road ahead is wide open. Disney may yet bring her back into the Star Wars fold, but she may just as easily choose to forge her own independent path, free from the constraints of corporate oversight. Whatever her choice, her journey has already become something larger than a personal comeback. It is a symbol for those who have been silenced, shunned, or pushed aside for their beliefs. In the age of instant outrage and career-ending online mobs, Carano's victory sends a powerful message. The fight is not over until you decide it is. She has shown that even when the gates close and the crowd jeers, there is a way to force the world to see you again. Not as the caricature painted by your critics, but as the person you truly are. Her story is one of resilience, courage, and the refusal to surrender her voice. And perhaps that is the ultimate redemption. Not just surviving the storm, but walking out of it stronger, unbroken, and with the very people who cast you aside, now speaking of respect and collaboration. Gina Carano's name will forever carry the weight of that defiance, and her legacy will remind future fighters, whether in the cage, in Hollywood, or in the court of public opinion, that a true warrior doesn't just endure the battle, she changes the battlefield itself.